US, if you shoot and there are buildings behind you, you technically should pay money, but they don't necessarily do. In Egypt, my question is that the same? And if there's
the buildings, not really.
But what if it's an important building?
Absolutely, absolutely. You have to be careful. No, in Egypt, no, it doesn't matter, even if it's an important. But you get the permit to shoot in Midan Tahrir, so you can show everything, but you must have a permit. You must have a permit. Yes.
Building on the question, I don't understand why you have to have a permit to shoot at a place or to get a script, and then you have to get another one.
Yes.
To actually release the film.
Yeah, because you don't really have freedom of expression in Egypt. Okay, they have to control it. Okay, there's control. So the control comes at many stages.
But they've already approved the script.
Yes, but they want to make sure that what you filmed is according to the script and not something else. Okay, and then maybe when you write something, it doesn't mean that they know exactly how you're going to film it. I mean, you could say, just a descriptive sentence, and then you change it when you decide you go on location and you find that there's a very beautiful location. You don't necessarily do exactly what you put in the script. Depends. This is a different story. We're doing things about filmmaking here. We're getting out of the copyright. You don't mind? You don't mind?
No, I just, sorry, there were hand-filling stuff. I know he had
yes, yeah, we'll go all the way. We'll continue with it.
What about creatures? There's those Khoury عن النص.
Khoury عن النص, and this is not allowed. I'm not a theater expert, but this is not allowed. You also have censorship with the theater. Yes. Who had a
Doctor, like for example, prank shows.
Sorry?
Prank shows. At the end, they just
what
go to prank. They don't have like, they don't sign. They just go to people and say, ممكن نذيع, and then they say نذيع. Is this enough, or does that have to be like documented?
But if you're documenting, it's not camera خفية anymore. This is strictly. It's a program. This is a program. It's a different thing. But your question is very good, because it's supposed to be camera خفية. But if you tell them, please sign a release form, it will lose all the the natural sense of the filming.
In which cases is it abnormal? Like in some cases you'll find
if we do. Yeah, they should take protection. They should take protection, because otherwise you can fall into big problems.
I have a question. Doesn't censorship infringe upon moral rights?
Of course.
So why isn't there a law against it? Like, because we were studying the case on moral rights, and the basis of the entire lawsuit is that one of the composer's moral rights are being infringed or upon. So how can censorship take place? So how is censorship so widely known here?
I mean, there is a lot of issues with censorship here, and there are attempts to cancel, the censorship department, because first of all, the people who are censoring the films are not necessarily up to it. You see what I mean? Yeah, they are experts, but because you have local films, and then you have all the foreign films that do come here, for example. Because, for example, we have something called the Panorama of the European Film. I don't know if you heard about it, this festival. We bring in something like 50 films every year, and the 50 films must go to censorship, and you get the approval that you can show the film. Okay? So now what they are thinking of doing is just canceling the censorship department and having, like in the States, according to age, categories, not allowed for less than 16 or less than 18. But it's still not very clear what they're going to do.
Can I ask a question? Sorry, it's very interesting that you mentioned the actors, that they get that they return as work for hire, but they also, the famous ones, can get a percentage of the profits, which is similar to what is mentioned for the US. But do the other, these relationships, are they similar or different?
Yeah, if we go back to this, the novelist, I told you, yes, of course, if you buy a book, for example, and you decide you want to adapt it to cinema, you have to pay rights to the author.
Okay.
But there are two kinds of rights always. There is the author's right, اوكي اللي هو الحق ها المؤلف في له اسم تاني حق زي معنوي حاجه معنويه ادبي and financial
moral and economic
there are always two rights that have to do with authors. Okay, so you have the novelist and then you have the screenwriters. For example, if I take back the example of Zat, we had Sonala Brahim as the novelist, and then we had Maryanne who was the screenwriter. Because so she takes money to adapt the novel, because you're not going to film the scenes exactly as they were written in the novel, but there is an adaptation for the TV series. Yeah.
You mentioned before that you have to take permission first to film and then permission to
show the film.
To show the film. Do a lot of filmmakers face problems after filming that they can't get it approved to be viewed?
Normally, if it has been accepted by the censorship before, they get around it. They can show. There are issues. For example, Halawat Ruh. I don't know if you remember the thing with Haifa Walbi, which is. And then there was a lawsuit, and then they won. They won the case, and they put the film again in the cinemas. You know, but they had. Why they won? Because why they won? It's because they had approval before, before filming, and then the film was released, and it stayed in cinemas for a couple of weeks, and then they decided to ban the film.
And it did change. They got the approval, and they did not change.
No, because paperwork was right. It's because somebody said this film is not good for kids, and I don't know what, and it was an issue that had nothing to do with the technicalities of the permits. And this is why they won the case. The producer won the case, which was a good thing actually, that he won the case. Sorry? I don't know.
I think it was, yeah.
Was it? Maybe. I don't know. So now you have the actors, for example. The actors so in the contract for actors, there should always be this that you can show the film anywhere, that you can sell any kind of rights. It's not only because once you have a film, this film can be sold to different things. For example, here he talked about theaters. You can show the film in the theaters. You can show the film on pay TV or airlines. When you are in the airline, you can see films. These are different kinds of rights that should be mentioned. For example, TV networks, television, it's a different kind of rights. Video stores on video. Cable company, yeah? Cable companies. Record companies, for example, if you're doing a film that has very nice music, you can, the whole music of the film could be sold to record companies. Merchandise manufacturers, could be other things that also can be sold related to the film. For example, the photo of the actor or any gadget. T-shirts, popcorn, cups.
I know on TV in Egypt that there's a channel and somebody's actually filming a movie at a movie theater. Like the channel is based
on television? Yeah, but this is horrible.
So how did these people get the license to
They don't get the license, and this is why it's total chaos actually. And this is why the industry has loads of problems that have to be solved, and this is why it's so interesting that you are learning about copyrights, because you are the future people who are going to solve these problems. If you get involved in this field, which is a very, very, very interesting field, because it has so many aspects, you see, but it's an industry. I mean, years ago, 50 years ago, this industry was the second industry in Egypt after cotton, you see. I'm lucky because I come from a family who's been in this business for 70 years. Yeah, my father used to be a producer in the golden years of Egyptian cinema, which was in the 50s. And then came Shaheen, who was 20 years younger than my father, and he was the artist, so it was the different kind of authors' films and things like that, which was completely different. But cinema, at one point, Egypt used to produce something like 120 films, sometimes 150 films, 200 films per year. And films are extremely important because so many people could work in films. You know, what you're saying is right. I mean, I don't want to mention names, okay, but very important channels. They film and they show the films, and this is crazy because the producer doesn't get the right And where is the producer going to, you know, eat from or whatever? This is his revenue. This is his main revenue. So imagine if television channels that are so important in the country, they steal. This is stealing films. This is stealing copyrights. Yeah.
I was wondering about YouTube documentaries.
Yeah.
You don't take permissions or anything in order to.
Now they are trying to regularize YouTube. Okay, that when you have, now you can make agreements with YouTube that when you have so many people showing, seeing the film, you can get some money from the number of people. But you know what? What you're saying is very interesting because YouTube, actually, you have a lot of filmmakers and who did not have a chance to sell their films. Okay, so there's no exposure to their work. So YouTube came as something fantastic for them, even if it was free. You know, the filmmakers, they don't have a chance to show their film. They will tell you, I don't mind if people download my films and see my films. At least I'll be exposed and people will get to know me. You see, and this is the whole issue about copyrights nowadays in many countries.
It's like a back door. If you can't take a license or permit to do your documentary, it's a back door to always do the video and upload it on YouTube. It creates a back door for this system. You can always escape.
The censorship, you mean?
Yeah. But how are you going to film without permits? You could, of course.
There are many
but I mean, I'm talking about the normal thing. Of course, you could do things. Okay, you can have a hidden camera, you can have very small cameras that are extremely good now. They can have very good image and sound. You know, you don't need to have heavy equipment. Things are different now. Things have changed. Before, when you used to do a film, you had to have, you know, big equipment and cameras and lighting and you know, was heavy machinery every day. But now it's not the case, and this is why things have changed. Access has changed. Yeah.
I have a question. If the producer wants to produce another part of a certain movie, do the actors have the right to? If the producer have the right to change the character of a certain actor?
Yes, because when you create something new, it is not the old film anymore. It's a new product.
But it's a part two of the same movie and the same character.
It depends. It depends on who you're dealing with. Are you going to get an agreement with if you're taking parts of the film, as we said before, you have to sign with the producer. You see, if you're not, this is a new product. If you're just mentioning, you know, so it depends.
Can I just pick up on this one, because I think you have in mind the example of James Bond and the others, and Rocky, the one that's in the lecture? Or, again, this is what I was thinking of Mr. X, and this is why. So the example that you're asking about is the same producer, so the producer holds the copyright, and then the producer wants to have a part two with different actors, is that what you're saying? So are they...
And this is in the contract of the producer with the actors, that he can reproduce.
With the first actor.
Yes, with the first actor, that he can reproduce. I mean, I want to show you one of the contracts that Shaheen used to have with the actors. It was terrible. The actors did not have the right to speak on television or on the radio before the film is released, because this would jeopardize all the campaign of the film. They will not have the right to have a haircut because you have rakurat in the film. You know, he does not have the right to travel. He does not have the right to, I don't know what.
To breathe.
Yeah. So it was terrible.
But
it was terrible, this contract. You know,
but I like this question because it's an application of the Rocky case. Because there was a story about the writer
should
of
be
Rocky
mentioned in the
James
contract.
Bond.
It should be mentioned in the contract. Should be mentioned in the contract.
We're talking about the cinema and the comics and how it related.
Can you raise your voice, please?
We were talking about the cinema and the comics. So do you mean that, for example, if I have a freedom of speech,
if you have
freedom of speech, I involve my cinema and
no, I meant when I was talking about this, I was talking about figures. That people think that cinema is just like that. You see what 2 hours of film? No, 2 hours of film is 2 years of work. Is 300 people working? Is $2 million maybe dollars? You see? So there is a stake. There's a huge stake. There's time. There's money. There is, you know. And for example, I was talking about when you have a shoot. For example, You know, this script that we talked about at the beginning, which is the 120 sequence, okay, you have to have a plan when you want to film it. Okay, so the plan, ده اللي بيسموه برنامج العمل. Okay, the plan is day by day. Who are you going to have on the shoot? What kind of accessories will you have? What is the wardrobe? What is the light? Is it sunset or sunrise? You see, all this is studied before, and this is why there's always a huge, good filmmakers prepare very well their shoot. They don't come like this and they decide to film. It's impossible. You know, this is going to be very bad work. But you prepare every day what is going to happen. So at the end of the day, for example, you have 6 to 8 weeks of filming, and every day you know exactly what you're going to film. But it means also that, for example, the shoot is £2 million. It means that every day costs so much. So if you miss one day, you are losing £100,000, £200,000. It's a lot of money. And this is why cinema is much more expensive than other arts, for example, photography, because you're on your own as a photographer. But cinema, there's too many technicians, too many artists involved, too many cars, you see, now it's becoming a little bit lighter with the new equipment. But there are too many people involved in the making of one film.